Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Dojo Live. This is the recap show, and today is Monday, January 25th, 2021. I'm Tulio Sirgusa, streaming from Southern California. I welcome you back to another week, and we're going to recap last week's shows. We had 3 shows. Joining me today is Kim Lantis from Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
And, of course, Carlos Ponce from Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi, Carlos.
Thank you,
All
Tulio.
right.
Just outside of Mexico City.
Just outside of Mexico City, just like I'm outside of LA. Okay, so as they say, let's get it. It's Monday. So we had 3 shows last week, and by the way, we try to do this in 10 minutes. So keep us honest, folks. 10 minutes is all we're offering here. Okay, so the first show is Paperless Language School of the Future with Inigo Lopez, who's the CEO of Ezret Business Language Services. Then we also had Growing a Successful Team and Building Tech within a Startup with Amit Agarwal, founder and CTO at DS. And finally, Customer-Centric Tech Support with Jim Coleman and David Tran, who are the co-founders of Xfusion. So, interesting conversation, all 3 very different. Always good to have variety. What came up for you guys? Let's talk when we talked to them. Anything stood out for you that you want to mention?
Oh, yeah, but I let Kim start. I mean, ladies first, Kim, so please be my guest.
Yeah, I think last week's talks, particularly that with Inigo and then the guys over at Xfusion, really struck the balance of how everything always starts for a reason, right? It's basically creating the companies that they wish that they were able to work with. And I think that's just this general theme that we see through entrepreneurship in general, and I really appreciate that. And I think I just appreciate also the shift toward not just how we can make our lives easier, but how we can make life easier for the planet as well, right? Going paperless. And this was with Inigo and his company, which is ESIT, I think I said that correctly, Business Language School. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, no, you said it correctly. It's ESIT, yes.
And I think what's great too is one of the things that he mentioned is the need to have usability, right? In his case, a lot of his teachers and people perhaps who are using their platforms might not be as accustomed to technology as others. And I just think the importance of making things as simple as possible really stood out to me as well.
I think the interesting thing about the conversation with Inigo is it shows the importance of companies, the need to evolve, right? When you start out, you have a certain set of services and technology investment. In most cases, you're actually licensing technology from external parties to get to market, right? And then that doesn't serve your needs any longer. You have to constantly innovate, maybe make better investments, better technology, find stronger partners. And at some point, it may actually make sense to build your own. There's a moment where you just outgrow everything in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. And it also tells the story of how intimate the company is with its customers, because in order to get there, you have to really be listening and paying attention and learning how to innovate based on the needs of your customer base. So it was a great example of a company that's kept up with the demands of their customers and the diversity of their customers and has stepped up with investments in technology to do that. Carlos, what came up for you?
Yeah, no, especially speaking about ESIT Business Language Services and with conversation with Inigo, I think that this is a very good example of what digital transformation means for companies that might have contemplated going digital or integrating technology into their operations, things like that. For example, ESIT has an application that they have internally to work with their teachers. But this whole year, the past year, kind of, I mean, that was the turning point for them, and they were literally driven, forced, pushed to jump into the whole digital realm, and to weigh it in such a way that it was even a little bit of surprising for them, because they were not really expecting it because they have a bunch of a lot of people working with them, with companies, like physically going to companies, training their people and their staff, and then all of a sudden that's just not doable anymore. It's just not possible. So Inigo says, well, what do we do? You know, we still we want to remain in business. We got to go digital. So they went digital, and they the way he narrated his journey, discovery journey, trial and error, working with mainstream tools like Zoom and others,
Right.
and now they jumped into adopting an entire platform to work across the board. So it was a journey for Inigo in that sense, and so it's whatever challenges might be on the lookout for them, on their horizon for them. I mean, they're going to continue working with technology and into adapting technology to keep alive, to remain alive as a company.
And I think you mentioned something important here, which is training your people and your staff, and the importance of what that looks like ultimately for the end user. And then a really cool solution that came up with XFusion.io. We want to talk about that one too, Leo?
Yeah, I was going to say, what the other thing that stood out is after you do 400 so interviews, you eventually end up talking to companies that are doing business with companies you've had on your show. They actually adopted a platform from a company that we have had on the show. So talking about XFusion, what stood out the most for me about customer-centric tech support with these guys wasn't necessarily what they're offering to the marketplace, but how they're going about it. They're taking a more intimate approach, focus on making sure that they develop empathy with the agents that are answering the call, that are actually learning to listen and learning to adapt to the needs of the customers. And if they've walked away from clients that are simply focused on just strict SLA based on number of calls that you can take, numbers of resolution, that don't measure the quality of the engagement. And so one thing that really stood out is that this company is focused on improving the quality of the engagement with its end users, and really training their staff to appreciate and understand when someone perhaps is having trouble with their platform and they're out of business for that moment, to just have some empathy for the fact that they're not happy in that moment instead of just jumping right in to solving it. So it's an example of how technology doesn't have to become mechanistic or clinical or cold. It can actually still empower and embody the principles of good emotional intelligence, which is how we build stronger relationships. We're coming up on time. I just wanted to quickly mention the other conversation was with the Yes, which was very good. I had that with Ram. Ram is hosting the Wednesday morning 10 a.m. Pacific show. And a lot of great points for startups who are looking for tips on how to be more effective in building their tech teams. Specifically, if you're a startup, I encourage you to check out that show. Just go back to the site. You'll find it. It's in the previous shows. You can also use the search box and just type in the topic and you'll find it. So if you missed that show, check it out. It's a great topic to keep them, to get some insights on how to be more effective in building teams for startups. Anything else? Guys?
I think
what's coming up.
We could call it serendipity, but all three of last week's talks are good for startups. I think the need to go paperless, which is something that you should probably consider when you're getting your business off the ground. How to focus on good customer, service as a startup, which XFusion.io has a solution for you there. And then how to build your team as a startup. So it's startup week.
That's true. That's
true.
DojoLIVE. Well, we aim to provide something new for people to learn. So check it out if you missed the shows. There's some great insights and that you can glean. Carlos, what do we got coming up? We got about a minute left.
People leaders, the catalyst to organization success in 2021. That's a conversation we'll be having with Melissa Ribeiro, the chief officer at Actian, and then that's on Wednesday. I'm sorry, and then on Thursday we'll have Beth Porter from Riff Analytics, and so we're again 12 noon right here on DojoLIVE as ever. See you then.
Excellent. Stay safe, everyone. See you back on Wednesday at noon.
Bye.
Sorry, 10 a.m. Wednesday, 10 a.m. That's our first show.